Daniel Kahneman, famous researcher and winner of Nobel Prize, who spent his life on discovering how people really think and make decisions, in one of his stunning findings after doing plenty of experiments, discovered that when people are faced with a complex and complicated problem or question, in most cases, they replace that question with a simpler question that they are able to solve, or at least they have some idea about that. According to his study, the normal state of your mind is that you have intuitive feelings and opinions about almost everything that comes your way. You like or dislike people long before you know much about them. You trust or distrust strangers without knowing why. You feel that an enterprise is bound to succeed without analyzing it. Whether you state them or not, you often have answers to questions that you do not completely understand, relying on evidence that you can neither explain nor defend. If a satisfactory answer to a hard question is not found quickly, part of your mind will find a related question that is easier and will answer it. This process is called substitution. But the problem is, substitution is done by part of your mind unintentionally and unconsciously. For example, when you ask people, how much would you contribute to save an endangered species? In most cases, for answering this question, they substitute another question for that, which is, how much emotion do I feel when I think of dying dolphins? In fact, your mind has an experience or heuristic about what you feel when you imagine that a dolphin is dying, and then it tries to translate that feeling into a material estimation. Or when you ask people, how happy are you with your life? They usually replace that question with this question, what is my mood right now? Because answering the first question entails thinking about the different aspects of your life, and it takes time and energy, so your mind prefers to answer the substitute question, which is the second question. And instead of putting some time and energy to think about the first complicated question, it only replies to the second question, which is the simpler question. And of course, that answer might be wrong or very far from the reality. Several experiments showed that people use substitution very often and almost in all aspects of their lives. Knowing this fact would help you realize how to manipulate the answers of people to specific questions. In an interesting experiment, researchers split the students of a college into two groups. They asked the first group to answer this question, how happy are you these days? After receiving their response, they asked them the second question, how many dates did you have last month? The experimenters were interested in the correlation between the two answers. Would the students who reported many dates say that they were happier than those with fewer dates? Surprisingly, no. The correlation between the answers was about 0. Evidently, dating was not what came first to the students' mind when they were asked to assess their happiness. But for another group of students, experimenters reversed the order of questions. First they ask, how many dates did you have last month? And after receiving the responses, they asked, how happy are you these days? The results this time were completely different. In this sequence, the correlation between the number of dates and reported happiness was considerably high, which cannot be ignored. So, what happened? The explanation is straightforward. Dating was apparently not the center of these students' life. But when they were asked to think about their romantic life, they certainly had an emotional reaction. The students who had many dates were reminded of a happy aspect of their life, while those who had none were reminded of loneliness and rejection. The emotion aroused by the dating question was still on everyone's mind when the query about general happiness came up. And since the question about happiness is vague to them, their minds substitute the simpler question for that, which is, how do I feel right now? The students do not temporarily lose their ability to distinguish romantic life from life as a whole. If they're asked about the two concepts, they would say they are different. But they were not asked whether the concepts are different. They were asked how happy they were, and their mind has a ready answer for that. So, instead of deep thinking or slow thinking about the question, their mind found a ready-made answer for that, which is absolutely not correct. This is not a unique experiment. Researchers have found the same pattern in many other cases, which show the people are using substitution in the face of hard problems or questions. With regard to this important fact about human being, do not think that fast thinkers or fast responders are necessarily smarter. Slow thinking in most cases is deeper and more effective, especially when it is associated with better understanding of problem. So, in the face of problems in your life or career, be mindful and try to be a slow thinker, not a fast thinker.